Good morning, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Desmos, and you're welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-growth. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, there is most likely a sound going to come through this video. I don't know if that will happen. There's a machine going on, so I'm doing some laundry. And I've been having this very, very massive download this morning, and I want to talk about the targeted individuals. So if you have been a black sheep in your family, you had best believe, whether you knew it or you didn't know it, you have always been a targeted individual in your own family. And now again, I'll also apologize that most of my videos I touch on very, very sensitive subjects, guys. So you always have to bear with me on this. Some of these things, as real as they may seem, they also happen to trigger certain individuals. But you also have to understand that I do this purposely to get you guys aware, to enlighten you guys so that you can move to a better place in life. So it's not on purpose that I do this kind of videos like this. You have to know on this channel, it's only about the truth. Now, you have most likely been wondering why life hasn't been going your way. So for the most of you guys who are the black sheep, if you've been the scapegoats, the black sheep of certain families, you have very much at some point wondered the reason as to why life hasn't usually been going your way. Why was it that most of the times you have been suffering the most? You have been tortured the most. You have gone through the worst: isolation, desertion, discrimination, and on top of that, also being a victim of different types of targeted situations in your circles. Now you see, for you to understand what is going on in the life of the black sheep, you have first of all go through your life in general, and you've got to go back to the beginning. A black sheep is a chosen one. So you're a particularly chosen individual who has come into those specific families. I'm talking about families in this case, but I mean, there could be another situation whereby you have also been scapegoated and you have been the odd man out. So those are the videos I'm talking about. They're the odd man out in their environments and their circles, in their family and friends. So you're the one who has always wanted to be different, do things differently. You have most likely struggled with fitting in. So most of the circles you've been involved with, you never fitted in. No matter what you try to do to fit into society, it didn't work. So it didn't work out. So you've always been feeling as an outsider. I can also guarantee you that you may not have been aware of this, but from the very beginning, as a black sheep, as a chosen one, you have been fighting a spiritual warfare. So by this, what I mean is that your presence on this planet hasn't been wanted by particular individuals. Even that they didn't know exactly why they used to treat you like that, or why they did the things they used to do to you. A lot of times it has been spiritual warfare actually happening in the background. So the whole meaning and the whole intention of these battles you've been fighting behind closed doors, those have been battles that have been intended to exterminate you and to seize your existence on the planet. Although sometimes if you've been involved with, like, for example, families, they have been trying to do this discreetly. So sometimes you have seen about cases whereby people have been poisoned. Sometimes people have been facing different kinds of witchcraft and the things like that. Whatever, dark magic, all dark things you can describe, you have seen it all. So especially from the people that you claimingly or assumingly seem to be loving or seem to be a part of the family. So there's been a lot of dark stuff going on behind your back. And this has not been by coincidence. So if you've been a black sheep in those families, you best believe that you've been targeted ever since you was a kid. Now, going back to the part when you was a child. As a child, a black sheep, you are born with a star. So the mission of a black sheep is much more bigger than you can imagine. You will, of course, later on, if you haven't awakened already, you will usually get to that awakening whereby you realize that the mission ahead of you is much more difficult. Your path and your mission is the hardest one. It does not matter how wealthy, how well your family are doing. It does not matter how well the individuals around you are doing. It does not matter how wealthy they are. I can guarantee you that your mission and your path as a chosen one in those families, your mission is the biggest and your mission has been the hardest. And the whole intention of this was to bring you to that sense of fulfillment. So you are here to experience life to the fullest. But before that happens, there's work to be done. As a black sheep, the very moment your parents give birth to you, I'm talking about those very first early, delicious, sensitive moments you as a child. Your parents, if you have been born in, we're talking about a very dysfunctional family. Your parents actually, on a subconscious level, even that they didn't really know what was going on, they somehow knew who you were from the very beginning of your life. So you might have had cases whereby sometimes parents they were not going to have, they were not going, if it was a mom, there was a toxic individual, there was narcissist, there was all this kind of people like that. They could even sometimes have attempted to abandon you somewhere off to a baby's home, to a shelter, or to things like that. They may even sometimes have abandoned you from a very young age. So you may sometimes have grown up in a shelter, in nursing homes, babies' homes, or sometimes you might have actually grown up with a grandfather, with a grandmother, with another relative, or things like that. So your parents have actually abandoned you at a very young age. Now, again, this has not been by coincidence. There has been actually playing behind the scenes. There have been dark forces behind the scenes that have been trying to make it impossible for you to exist. But for some reason, you came out to the top. Now, if you have had the chance to grow up in a family, it doesn't matter how dysfunctional they were. So if they have decided to raise you personally, to take you in and raise you from childhood to adulthood, you have also noticed that a lot of times during your encounter with the parents, during your engagements with your parents have always tried to do everything they can to make sure that they punish you, isolate you, desert you, discriminate you. A lot of times you have been left out from the entire family unit, and a lot of things have been done. A lot of harm has been done your way, has been cast your way and put your way. So again, we're coming back to that realization that a black sheep, we can all agree as a black sheep that your life has been very difficult and very, very extremely complicated. Now, a targeted individual, what happens is, as your parents keep on doing all this kind of to you, all this kind of evil and harm to you and hurt, they do not know on a physical level why they are hurting you, why they are actually doing all these kinds of things to you, regardless of who is watching. Sometimes they may try to do it discreetly, but sometimes they may even decide to do it in front of other children, other family members in that team. So usually what happens is that you start to get this kind of conditioning in your mind as a child that you're not welcome. And sometimes you could even have felt that you were not accepted in those units. And that is what causes the conditioning. Now, as you go on and carry on with life, you will also realize, even sometimes you join schools, as you start growing up and you start joining different kinds of schools, you will also notice that even in those schools, particularly you as a black sheep, you have also continuously been abused in those schools. You have been scapegoated all your entire life. It doesn't matter whether it was your friends, it didn't matter if it was your family, it didn't matter if it was in the school, communities, workplaces, along the lines of a black sheep. I can guarantee you 110%. You have always been scapegoated, even outside of your entire family. So it has continued in schools, it has continued in relationships. You have usually probably made very, very difficult and toxic relationships. As a black sheep, it is very possible you have also had a lot of toxic relationships in your circle. Because you see, people will come around and attack you, and they may want to make you feel less than what you really are. So it's like all of a sudden you see people coming from different corners, doing things to you, stealing from you. They will abuse you, they'll attack you, they will scapegoat you, they will eliminate you, they will discriminate you, they will do everything you can describe to you. And you have always been asking yourself, why has always life been going that way for you? You see, on a very spiritual perspective, those dark forces, they know who you are. So they know that you're a person that has got a star. So you have got a star on your head. And on the spiritual level, they can see that star from afar. It did not really matter whether you have been outside of your home, family home. You went out there to meet your friends. It will seem as if you're going to become a next target. Even sometimes people do not know you. For some reason, a person just walks up to you, and they will target you for something. They will forget about the people around you. You might have noticed that you might have been around 6, 5 people around in the group. A person just comes out of nowhere, and they just pick out. It's like it almost seems as if each and every single move you made, you were actually handpicked out of the crowds and put in a very bad place, in the worst place, in worst case scenarios. And most of the times you have also noticed you have been targeted in most of the places that you've been out with, sometimes, or your homes. Now you see what is happening behind closed doors is because of the mission ahead of you and because of the mission that has been assigned to your life by the divine. There is those negative forces and those dark forces that don't want you to carry on with the mission. On a spiritual level, they believe. So sometimes that's why you see your parents. They do not know why they don't like you. You know, your own mother, your own father, they do not know on a really subconscious level why they do not like you. They do not understand this. But physically, they will show you they don't like you. But understanding that there is something about you that they do not like, something that irritates them. You see, a lot of times these entities, they have to use some kind of medium. So they need a medium, they need vessels. You know what I mean? So sometimes you might have found your own parents were the vessel. You know, your own father, if the father was a psychopath, narcissist, all these kind of people like that, they could have been the vessel that they were using to attack you and to target you on each and every single day on a daily basis. They have been using that vessel. When you leave your home, you carry on and go to school, there will be another friend of you supposedly a friend that you might have met in school. That other person again is going to come around and they're going to target you. That cycle of targeted or of being targeted, of being a targeted individual will carry on. It is a cycle that can go on and on and on. At some point, I didn't really understand why. In the early days of my journey, I usually was targeted for so many different kinds of reasons, and sometimes they were meaningless reasons. They didn't even make any sense. But I was thinking in my mind, so how come that there is many of us here? You know, there is a team of 5, 6 people, but all of a sudden somebody just comes out of somewhere, and out of all the people, they just point the fingers at you and they will handpick you out for being targeted. I did not really understand that, but again, as a black sheep later on, because I've said you guys that. So the black sheeps, when they come to that sense of awakening at a later point in time, because a black sheep is meant to awaken, it does not matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what is your current circumstances, but there is going to come a time whereby you are going to snap. So normally what happens is that the black sheep, they snap out of this abuse. They snap out of these cycles and they remember who they really are. They will remember that they're spiritual beings actually having a human experience and they're here for a big purpose. And that purpose, what you have on this planet, is not going to be any purpose that anybody in your entire family has ever done. So it is going to completely take a completely different direction from the people around you. That's why a lot of times you see the black sheep when they're waking up. You see a lot of confusion, people coming around, they're starting to call you names, oh, he's crazy, you know, because people are used to you, you know, being at your low. So people are used to you being at your low. People are used to you, you know, taking advantage of you. They just come around and, you know, do whatever they want to do and get away with it. But this time you're waking up, you're remembering who you are, and now you're stepping back into your power. The moment you decide to take back your power, that is exactly when your mission is going to take off. And usually it's going to take you by surprise because you're going to realize it is not something you've ever expected to do in your entire life. It doesn't matter what direction you take. It doesn't matter what your mission is. It doesn't matter what your purpose is on this planet. You're also going to notice it is something you have never anticipated. And that is why it is going to shock. Number one, is going to shock you as you're waking up. I've told you guys, normally when you're experiencing the switch, you're going to go into shock, because at some point, at some degree, it's like you remember who you remember on a spiritual level, who you really are. And sometimes later on, what you're here to do. So that shock that you go through when you're waking up, it also carries on to the circles around you. So it takes your family by surprise. So they don't really understand you. They don't know what happened to you. Some of them, they're like, yeah, so and so has gone crazy. We don't know what is happening to them. Maybe they need to go and see a doctor or something like that. No, guys. There is nothing wrong with you. You are just simply waking up. You're remembering who you are, and you're taking back your power, and you're understanding exactly what you're here to do, what you came here for, and what you're here to do. But also you remember that along your journey, it has been a roller coaster of events. You've been going through a roller coaster of events. So much has been happening. Things you cannot explain. Things you cannot imagine. Things even nobody can imagine. When you start speaking about these things, sometimes later on, people, they will think that you're lying to them. When you start speaking about your real life experiences, a lot of people around you, I can guarantee you this, they will think that you're going crazy. They will think that you don't know what you're talking about. Because a lot of these things, the targeting that has been happening behind your back, it has been sometimes happening in public. Sometimes it has been happening in secret. So it's not everybody around you, they have really been seeing what has been happening behind your back. That's the reason why it is very hard to explain to people. When you get up and you wake up, it is very difficult to explain to people that, guys, listen, this is what has been going on. You know what I mean? You remember that event? That's what was happening. You remember that event? That's what was happening. We're talking about the black sheep. We're talking about everything that describes evil. We're talking about witchcraft. We're talking about narcissistic abuse. We're talking about torture. We're talking about everything that describes evil. The kind of evil you've never seen on any other entire being on this planet. But I've told you guys that as you're going through all those events and all those experiences, there is a preparation being done by the divine. So God is actually preparing you for the bigger picture. But you see, for you to be able to understand what you're here for and what it is you came here to do, for you to be able to understand this and get and step into your purpose, you first of all got to go through the training. So the training is the hardest part. But the moment when you come around and get over the other side and start stepping into your purpose and doing whatever it is you came here to do, because I've told you guys, black sheep, whether you knew it or you didn't know it, you are here to change the entire paradigm in your families. So you're going to change the whole dynamics of what it is they thought life was initially. You're going to change their own whole entire perspective on life in the entire unit. So what do I mean by this is that you are usually going to start opening up people's eyes. So your families, you may start sometime educating them, enlightening them on different kinds of things that they've never seen before, or even sometime the things that they've never thought about. So now you started to enlighten a lot of people around you. You're living a life of purpose, and you're also carrying on to become the best version of yourself and make the world a better place. So the targeting is not by coincidence. The whole meaning and the whole reason behind the targeting, being a targeted individual for your entire life, it has been designed on purpose. Number one, the divine has been preparing you. So God has been preparing you for the bigger picture. So you've been going through some kind of training and preparation from the divine. You know what I mean? The people that hurt you, you can always look back as a person who has awakened and carried on with your life and moved on to live your best life. You can always look back and forgive. You know what I mean? I've told you guys, black sheeps, as much as it hasn't been easy for you over the years, you always have to look back and forgive, because the black sheep always have to remember that we are empaths, and empaths, we do not represent vengeance. So you look back, you forgive your parents, you let them live. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that when you're forgiving somebody, you have got to go back and hug them and put them back in your life. No. You just step back and step away. You forgive them, and then now you're going to start loving people from a distance, and you're going to carry on and go ahead to live a life of purpose. So being targeted wasn't by coincidence. It has happened all your life. It has happened ever since your mothers gave birth to you. Your entire life in your families, your entire life in your schools, your friendships, your relationships, your work environments. It has always been a cycle of being a targeted individual. But at the end of the day, as you awake, you realize and you will see the bigger picture. You also realize what you're here for. You step into your purpose and you'll move ahead to change the world, enlighten out of people, raise the frequency of the planet as a chosen one, and eventually become the best version of you. So that being said, guys, I want to know what has been your experience as a Blacksheep. What have you seen? What have you experienced? What have you gone through? How have you come over to the top? Have you met your mission? Have you found your purpose? And what is life looking like compared to where it used to be back in the days? Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below, guys. You always know that I love and appreciate your support. You always know you can always book a session with me, guys. My email is down in the description section below. Let me know what you're dealing with. We can talk about that. You can donate and support this channel if you want to. All the links, Cashapp and PayPal, you'll find them in the description section below. Until then, lovely to have you guys on board. Much love and blessings. Nezemo signing out. Peace.